Two young explorers set out on an exciting underwater adventure in the depths of Spring Run Cave, with limited experience and only basic diving gear. As they ventured deeper into the cave, the water around them grew dark and silty, making it harder to see. Without a guide rope, and with just a single dim light, the dive took a turn they never expected. One wrong move, and the pair found themselves lost in the maze-like tunnels, with time and air running out. What happened next remains a haunting reminder of the dangers lurking in the unknown. Cave diving is a type of underwater diving that takes place in water-filled caves. It can be done for various reasons, such as an extreme sport, exploring flooded caves for scientific research, or searching for and rescuing divers or other people who might be trapped inside. The equipment used for cave diving depends on the situation. Some divers may hold their breath, while others use equipment that provides air from the surface. However, most cave diving is done using scuba gear, which includes specialized setups like side-mount or back-mounted tanks for safety and backup. Cave diving is considered a form of technical diving because for much of the dive, there is no easy way to reach the surface for air. This type of diving often involves making planned stops to safely decompress after the dive. There is also a difference between cave diving and cavern diving. In cavern diving, divers only explore parts of the cave where they can still see the exit and natural light. Some diving schools also set a specific distance limit from the open water for cavern dives. Spring Run Cave, located in Washington County, Florida, is a hidden treasure for cave explorers and divers. This underwater cave offers a glimpse into the undiscovered beauty of Florida, where life begins from a source bubbling up from the ground. Florida's springs are known for having some of the clearest and purest water in the world, and Spring Run is no exception. The water here is crystal clear, flowing directly from an underground river, or aquifer, which filters the water through limestone rock. The result is breathtaking, as divers can experience underwater views that stretch for hundreds of feet. The temperature of the water remains steady at around 72 degrees Fahrenheit all year, making it a perfect spot for cave diving, snorkeling, and scuba diving. Whether you're an experienced diver looking to explore a cave system over 200 feet deep, or simply exploring the serene beauty of the natural surroundings, Spring Run offers an unforgettable adventure. Some parts of the cave are deep in the woods, surrounded by dense forest, while others are easier to access, even attracting visitors to nearby state parks. The spring-fed waters flow continuously, providing millions of gallons of fresh water each day. Florida's underwater caves have fascinated explorers for years, and Spring Run Cave is a place where the mystery of the deep comes to life. Whether you're seeking adventure or scientific discovery, this cave invites you to explore its hidden depths and discover the beauty beneath the surface. On the afternoon of Thursday, October 3rd, 1985, two young men, George Matthews and John Horton, ventured into the unknown depths of Spring Run Cave in Washington County, Florida. Matthews was only 22 years old, eager to explore the underwater world. He had recently become a certified open water diver and had logged a total of 11 dives, giving him a sense of confidence that he could handle this new adventure. However, his experience was limited, especially when it came to cave diving. His friend John Horton was even less prepared. Horton had no formal training or diving experience at all. Yet, their thirst for exploration and curiosity about what lay beneath the surface drove them to dive into the mysterious cave. Neither Matthews nor Horton understood the risks that came with cave diving. Unlike regular scuba diving in open waters, cave diving presents unique dangers. One of the biggest differences is that cave divers are often far from any open surface, making it difficult to reach air if something goes wrong. Cave divers typically need specialized training and equipment, but Matthews and Horton were unaware of these essential details. Their passion for exploration outweighed their understanding of safety, and that would ultimately lead to a tragedy. The pair's preparation for the dive was minimal. Matthews had his basic diving certification, which covered open water dives in oceans or lakes, but he lacked any training in cave diving. Horton had even less preparation, relying entirely on Matthews to guide him. Neither of them had ever taken a cave diving course or even done a single practice dive in a controlled cave environment. They didn't understand the importance of safety guidelines that more experienced divers would know, such as the need for a dive plan, clear communication, and the use of a guideline to mark the way back to the surface. In terms of equipment, they were woefully unprepared. Both divers carried only a single tank of air, which held 80 cubic feet. Now, this might have been enough for a short, open water dive, but it was risky for cave diving, where divers may need to stay underwater longer and have less room for air. They also didn't have any backup regulators, which are essential in case the main air source fails. Even worse, their only light source was a low-powered flashlight. In cave diving, lights are a lifeline. Darkness can swallow divers whole, leaving them disoriented and unable to find their way back. Most cave divers carry at least 3 lights, but Matthews and Horton had just one between them. Finally, they did not bring a guideline, a rope that divers typically use to retrace their steps and find the cave's entrance. Without it, they risked getting lost in the maze-like cave system. At around 1:30 p.m., Matthews and Horton entered the water at Spring Run Cave. The entrance to the cave was inviting, and it drew them in with its clear water. As they descended, the surroundings quickly became unfamiliar. The further they went, the darker and more enclosed the space became. They didn't realize it at the time, but they were diving into a dangerous situation with no way to turn back. As they descended deeper into the cave, they traveled about 300 feet inwards and reached a depth of 80 feet. The conditions inside the cave were far from ideal. The water was filled with silt, a fine layer of particles that could easily be stirred up with a kick or a swipe of the hand. In cave diving, silt is a diver's worst enemy because it can make visibility go from clear to completely black in an instant. That's exactly what happened to Matthews and Horton. As they swam, the silt was kicked up, clouding the water around them, making it nearly impossible to see. At this point, Horton signaled to Matthews, indicating that they should turn back. Matthews, being more experienced, was supposed to lead the way out of the cave, but in the confusion of the silty water, Matthews quickly disappeared from Horton's sight. Panic began to set in. Horton found himself alone, trapped in a cave with no sense of direction and zero visibility. He frantically swam in different directions, desperately trying to find the way out. He bumped into the cave walls multiple times as he searched for an exit, unsure of which way to go. Horton was lucky enough to stumble upon a fixed line, which had been left in the cave by previous divers. He followed it, and eventually, after what felt like an eternity, he saw a faint light in the distance. This was the light coming from the entrance of the cave. With his heart racing, he swam toward the entrance, his air supply running dangerously low. When he finally surfaced, he had just 500 psi left in his tank, a dangerously low amount, especially given how far into the cave they had ventured. By the time Horton reached the surface, it was clear that something had gone horribly wrong. Matthews was still nowhere to be found. The reality of the situation began to sink in. His friend was still trapped somewhere deep inside the cave, and the chances of finding him alive were low. When Horton came out from the water, local authorities were quickly notified of the incident. A search and rescue operation was launched to try and find Matthews. Experienced cave divers were called in, each of them aware of the risks they were taking by entering a cave where an untrained diver had gone missing. They knew that time was against them. The longer Matthews stayed underwater, the less likely it was that he would be found alive. The divers conducted 3 separate recovery attempts. The cave's challenging conditions made the search extremely difficult. With visibility reduced due to the stirred-up silt and the complex layout of the cave, it took hours before they were able to locate Matthews' body. On Friday, at 12:45 p.m., after several tense hours of searching, they found him 249 feet into the cave and 70 feet below the surface. His body had come to rest in a place where it was clear he had been trying to find his way out, but had become lost and disoriented in a struggle to find his way back to the surface. The tragedy of George Matthews and John Horton serves as a warning of the dangers of cave diving, especially for those who are unprepared and inexperienced. In the diving community, Cave diving is recognized as one of the most dangerous forms of underwater exploration, and for good reason. The lack of an easy exit, the darkness, the confined spaces, and the risk of silt outs make it a challenge even for the most experienced divers. Matthews and Horton, while driven by a sense of adventure, did not fully understand the risks they were taking when they entered the cave at Spring Run. Their limited experience, lack of training, and improper equipment all contributed to the tragedy. Cave diving requires thorough preparation, including specialized gear, extensive training, and a clear understanding of the risks involved. Without these, even a seemingly straightforward dive can quickly turn deadly. In the aftermath of the incident, the diving community continued to stress the importance of proper training for anyone attempting a cave dive. The story of Matthews and Horton, while tragic, has been shared to help prevent similar accidents in the future. It highlights the need for respect and caution when exploring the unknown, especially in environments as unforgiving as underwater caves. We hope this video sheds light on the importance of safety and careful planning for any kind of dive.
We're approaching the anniversary of one of the most dreadful cave stories of all time. In Thailand, on June 23, 2018, 12 members from a youth junior soccer team named the Wild Boars ventured into the Tham Luang Nang Non cave for a birthday party after a tough day of practice. The team of 12 boys, aged 11 to 17, were chaperoned by their assistant coach Ekafon Chanthawong. The whole event was catered, and it should have been a simple, fun time the team, but their relaxing party underground quickly turned into a fight for survival when a monsoon stormed through the dense forest, bringing a sudden flood of water that wouldn't let up. The downpour sealed the entrance to the cave, trapping 13 people in the damp, rocky depths. Pirapat Sompiangjai had just turned 17, but the rainfall was an unwelcome surprise for the birthday boy and the rest of the party. The tunnel leading to their party area was slanted downward, so the water started flooding inside and filling up narrow portions of the tunnel. The escape route was already too far to swim to safety. The team's assistant coach had to act fast to save the boys from the rising water. As they fled deeper into the cave, they left behind some of their food and supplies. Fleeing might have been their only option, but it presented a host of new problems. There are many different kinds of caves. None of them are comfortable to be trapped in, but some are worse than others. The Tham Luang cave is a karstic cave formed by erosion of soft rocks like limestone and dolomite. These caves create vast expanses of twisting and winding tunnels that extend for miles underground. The wild boars were drawn further into the cave, dubbed the Great Cave of the Sleeping Lady, near the top of the Doi Nang Non mountain in the Thai highlands. Legend has it that long ago, a princess fell in love with a farm worker and planned to have a child out of wedlock. The royal family would forbid their marriage, so the princess and her sweetheart ran away and hid in the cave. The man left to search for food, but the royal army led by the princess's father caught the man and killed him. In her sorrow, the princess stabbed herself to death, and her blood became the water that courses through the veins of the Tham Luang cave. As ages passed, the mountain itself grew to into her likeness, and now the mountain range resembles the princess with long hair lying down. The boys and their chaperone had to contend with superstition, but more pressing matters were quickly taking over. The main chamber where the party was held is almost 300 feet long, but this main area branches into a labyrinth of narrow tunnels and vertical recesses that stretch for 6.4 miles in total, soul-crushing darkness. Shortly after nightfall, the head coach for the team, Noparat Kanthawong, looked at his phone and found over 20 missed calls. As he checked his messages, he realized that none of the boys had made it home. He called the assistant coach and dialed some of the boys' cell phones, but the signals were blocked by the dense forest and solid stone that entombed the soccer team. Eventually, Noparat actually contacted one of the boys. Songpan was picked up by his parents after soccer practice, and he told the coach that the rest of the team went to explore the Great Cave of the Sleeping Lady. The coach took personal responsibility for the team and his assistant, and he fled his house to reach the mouth of the cave. As he arrived in the pouring rain, he saw bags and bicycles all abandoned as rainwater and mud gushed from the sealed entrance of Tham Luang. Then, the head coach contacted authorities to report 13 missing people. Word quickly spread as police gathered tracking canines to probe the surface for sinkholes and shafts that could reach down into the cave for an escape route. At the time, radar and other scanning equipment wasn't strong enough to locate the team from the surface. Drones were also used to explore the cave to little success. Meanwhile, social media, word of mouth, and news coverage all caught the attention of world-class divers. Vern Unsworth is a British national who lives in the area. He's also a cave explorer, or caver, who's explored the Tham Luang cave complex many times, and he suggested that the Thai government contact the British Cave Rescue Council. 2 days after the team went missing, Thai Navy SEAL divers came to the rescue, only they didn't succeed. The monsoon brought continuous rain that churned up sediment and made the water almost opaque. Their special underwater lights were no use. They couldn't see anything when they tried to swim into the cave. Days passed, and more rain continued to flood into Tham Luang. On June 27th, 3 members of the British Cave Rescue Council made it to Thailand, and shortly afterward, more independent teams came to lend their aid. The BCRC brought better equipment designed specially for cave rescues, but their searches were fruitless. All the while, the wild boars and their coach were stuck wandering through damp, stagnant air as the thin, waning light from their dying flashlights cast ominous, ghastly shadows on the stalactites and stalagmites that threatened to engulf them around every turn. The next day, the 353rd Special Operations Group, the 320th Special Tactics Squadron, and the 31st Rescue Squadron from the U.S. Air Force arrived. A day later, a specialist response group from the Australian Federal Police arrived, followed by Chinese divers from the Beijing Peaceland Foundation. Maxim Polajaka, Richard Stanton, Ben Remanence, and John Valanthan made headway on the rescue by placing diving guidelines, but the mission had to be paused when more rain created strong currents. On July the 2nd, 9 days after the boys and their coach went missing, the weather finally let up. That day, BCRC diver Robert Harper conducted support from outside the cave as 2 divers explored the depths. Valanthan and Stanton were exploring the cave, placing guidelines. Valanthan ran out of line and swam to the surface. He smelled something immediately recognizable. As he looked around the chamber, he found the missing birthday party, alive but sweaty, dirty, exhausted, and frightened. The Thai Navy SEALs posted a video of this miracle encounter to Facebook. In the video, the boys have lost all sense of time. The darkness has eroded their senses, and fear has dulled their otherwise smiling faces. Although it was a blessing to find the team alive, the battle was far from over. The group was found in a chamber that lay deep beneath the highest point of the mountain. To reach it from the surface, nearly half a mile of rock would need to be excavated, but the horizontal path was just as bad. The group was roughly 2.5 miles from the entrance, and the path toward them was riddled with steep slopes and narrow corridors that were too small to carry scuba tanks through. It dawned on rescuers that the real challenge was just beginning. Any capable swimmer can tackle a mile-long swim in around 30 minutes, but this situation was much more dire. The winding caverns meant that divers had to traverse carefully. Any wrong move could risk slicing their equipment or their flesh open on the jagged rocks that surrounded them from all sides. Plus, rescuers needed to carry extra equipment and supplies to deliver to the trapped soccer team, which would also slow them down. The weight of the mission would impact their very physiology, causing their adrenaline to spike as they breathe faster under the pressure of saving so many innocent lives. As they breathe faster, their oxygen tanks deplete faster. And there's one final problem: the return trip. The average scuba tank can only hold enough air for 45 to 60 minutes. The high stakes and difficult terrain could cause rescuers to spend far longer than an hour just to reach them, not counting the time to return back to the entrance to refill their tanks. To make matters worse, some of the boys never learned how to swim. To make supply trips more efficient, the team set up an air supply refill area in a chamber partway through the cave. Thai Army Doctor Lieutenant Colonel Pak Loharachun joined the team to provide health checks on the boys. The rescue team realized the importance of morale and positive psychology, so they also tried to keep the team entertained as best as they could in the muddy nightmare they were trapped in. To raise their own spirits and give hope to their families, the team each introduced themselves in a video posted by the Thai Navy SEALs. While the effort was noble, the team looked frail as they huddled in emergency blankets. In a more genuine effort of kindness, BCRC diver Jason Mallinson asked each team member if they wanted to send personal messages to their friends and family in writing. Jason had with him a special wet notes pad that could write on land or underwater. Meanwhile, their coach Ekafon also played a vital role in keeping the boys safe despite his blunder of ignoring the warning signs posted at the cave entrance. Alongside soccer, he also trained as Buddhist monk. He led the boys in guided meditation, which has been scientifically shown to reduce anxiety and improve other areas of health, and it may have helped them process the trauma they were faced with day after day trapped in the abyss. On the surface, an entire camp was constructed to figure out how the team would rescue the 13 people trapped in Tham Luang. The team discovered it took them 6 hours to reach the boys because they had to battle against the current, and it took them 5 hours to exit. To make it easier for the divers, different teams constructed a dam to divert upstream rivers, and other teams created a pump system to remove as much water as they could from the rapidly flooding cave. By July 4th, experts estimated that they had pumped out 420,000 gallons of water, which is close to the total volume of an Olympic swimming pool. This helped the divers, but it also flooded nearby farms and destroyed their crops. The rescuers were also surprised by an unusual dry spell that helped reduce the water level in the cave. On July 5th, 38-year-old former Thai Navy SEAL diver Saman Kunan volunteered to help, and he dove into the cave to deliver 3 air tanks to the Midway refill site. He dropped off the tanks, but on his way back he lost consciousness. His dive partner attempted CPR, but he was unsuccessful. They went back to Chamber 3 with the air tanks, and Kunan's dive buddy tried CPR again, but it was too late. Kunan was pronounced dead in the early hours of July 6th. Tragically, this wasn't the only life claimed in the Tham Luang rescue operation. A year after the heroic mission, another Thai SEAL, Beirut Pakbara, died from a blood infection he acquired in the cave. Later that day, on July 6th, the rescue camp detected low oxygen levels in the chamber where the boys were waiting to be rescued, which could lead to hypoxia and permanent damage, or even death if they weren't rescued soon. 2 days later, and oxygen levels dropped below the levels needed for normal human function. Time was running out. Weather forecasters predicted that another monsoon was fast approaching. By the end of the week, the cave would be reflooded and the rain wouldn't recede for another 3 months. The team had days to save the boys and their coach, or they were doomed. On July 8th, the extraction began. 18 rescue divers took part in the mission, and the boys were rescued in order of who volunteered first. The days of good food and encouragement helped the boys face the challenge head-on as they were filled with hope for the first time in what felt like an eternity. Some of the wild boars weren't looking forward to the bike ride home after a grueling time trapped in a cave. It hadn't dawned on them that the whole world was supporting them and hoping for their rescue. All 12 boys and the coach were given wetsuits, harnesses, buoyancy jackets, and positive pressure full face masks that were attached to tanks with 80% oxygen on their chest. The harnesses had handles that allowed them to be tethered to a rescue diver for added safety if they got lost in the low visibility areas of the cave. To prevent panic, the boys were also given a cocktail of drugs. The first was a drug known for both its anesthetic and psychedelic properties, ketamine. The dosage was enough to knock them out without interfering with their breathing. They were also given Xanax and atropine to prevent anxiety and keep their heart rate steady. These drugs needed to be administered multiple times along the journey to freedom. Once the boys reached Chamber 3 where the oxygen was stored, they were passed along a chain of hundreds of rescuers, wrapped in sked stretchers, slid, zip-lined, and carried by a system of pulleys to the entrance of the cave. On July 10th, the last of the boys and the coach were rescued. The last people to leave were the 3 Thai Navy SEALs and the Army doctor, but as they were leaving, the water pumps were suddenly shut off. Thankfully, they were the most experienced members of the group by this point, and they were able to escape in record time before the rising water levels cut off the exit. After 18 days, the wild boars and their assistant coach were free from the Tham Luang cave. The boys were placed on a special diet and given sunglasses so they could readjust to regular light for the first time in weeks. When all was said and done, roughly 10,000 people helped in some capacity during the Tham Luang cave incident. Over 100 divers lent their aid, and over 100 government agencies took part in the rescue effort. An episode of National Geographic's Drain the Oceans called Thai Cave Rescue recalls the events. Thai-Irish filmmaker Tom Waller wrote and directed a movie called The Cave, which is based on Tham Luang. And just last year in 2021, a full documentary was released called The Rescue. That's the exhilarating story of the Tham Luang cave rescue. What hair-raising moment surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments section below. While you're there, click that like and subscribe button to explore more chilling cave stories, and we'll see you in the next video coming your way soon.